Even though it was still night, people would find their way to the clinic. When the doctors of the outpatient clinic for children up to 12 in Freetown, Leone arrived in the mornings, hundreds of people would already be waiting for them. There were mainly mothers, but there were a few fathers, and they were all there with their sick children. The doctors never know what's waiting for them at the start of each day. Sometimes children will have died while waiting in line. Some of the children they meet are dying, and some will definitely die if they don't get the medical attention they need. I spent some weeks with the doctors on Mercy ships who were then in charge of the clinic during June and July of 2008. I witnessed firsthand their battle to save the lives of children in a country that has the world's highest child mortality rate. 1 out of every 4 child never lives to celebrate their 5th birthday in Sierra Leone. Resources there are scarce. When I was in Freetown, there were only 2 doctors, Dr. Sandra and Dr. Anna, and among them they could see about 65 patients during a day. A working day that rarely lasted less than 10 to 12 hours. They would start the day by checking out each child waiting in line to see which ones needed most urgent medical attention, and then they would start handing out slips to those waiting in the front of the line until they reached the amount of patients they could hope to see during that day. When we walked down along the line of sick children, the desperate parents pushed and shoved their way towards the doctors. A guard was called upon to calm the parents down, instructing them that no one would be seen if there was any sort of aggressiveness. After that, a quiet came over the parents. Those who had to be turned away did so even without an argument, and they would be back again another day. The doctors told me that the signal this sent out to the parents was not to come back until their child was so sick that the doctors had to see them, and by then it might even be too late. The children were still within reach of saving, but had to be sent away because of this lack of resources might very well end up losing their lives when they really could have been saved. I was told that 70% of the children who die suffer from curable and preventable diseases. Had they lived in the developed countries, they would most likely never have died. In the face of all the suffering and lack of resources, not just in the clinic, but in the entire healthcare system around them in Sierra Leone, the doctors kept on fighting for each and every life. Some of these children were tested for and diagnosed with malaria, and if this is caught in time, many of them stand a chance of recovery. Malnutrition, either because they had little food or they had this as a secondary symptom of other diseases like tuberculosis, was another fairly common problem the children suffer from. Every child they could not save really affected these doctors. What touched me, though, was their dedication and the fact that they never ever gave up. The tidal waves of suffering that hit them every single day never made them drown in the sea of despair. The faces of the children there remind me of people claiming that the help we can give is only a drop in the sea, as if that gives us an excuse not to do anything. Believe me, if it were your child you desperately saw withering away in your arms and someone managed to save it, you would never look at her or him as a drop in the sea.